The sky over Xylar 9 burned with the colors of war. Explosions lit up the horizon like angry stars, and smoke spiraled into the thick violet clouds above. In the midst of chaos, a lone figure moved with calm precision, a shadow cutting through alien fire like a blade. Commander Elias Kane, known across the galaxy as the Human Warrior, surveyed the battlefield with eyes that had seen too much, but never enough to dull his determination. Xylar 9 was a planet under siege. The Vrekari, a ruthless alien empire, had claimed it for themselves, enslaving its people and building factories that churned out war machines to spread terror across neighboring systems. Entire fleets had been sent to crush any resistance, but humanity had sent Elias, not to fight in overwhelming numbers but to strike where no one else could. Small teams, precise attacks, ingenuity over brute force. That was his way. Elias crouched behind the twisted remains of a fallen warwalker. His strike team of humans and a few willing alien allies moved silently beside him, their breathing steady, their hands on weapons crafted for efficiency rather than flash. The team had only a few dozen members, but each one was trained to think like him, to move like him, and to trust each other with lives they all knew were expendable. "Eyes on the target," Elias whispered into his comm unit, his voice calm but commanding. "The command center is just beyond the ridge. One shot, one move, make it clean." His movements were deliberate, precise, almost unnatural in their grace. Each step was calculated to avoid pressure plates, laser sensors, and patrol drones. The Vrekari might be stronger, faster, and technologically advanced, but Elias understood something they did not. Fear could be manipulated, and chaos could be controlled. The ridge gave him a view of the command center. It was massive, made of black metal that seemed to absorb light, surrounded by turrets and flying drones. A normal assault would have been suicide, but Elias had studied every report, every structural weakness. He signaled to his team, and with a series of quiet clicks and nods, they advanced. Suddenly, a patrol drone hovered into view. Its sensors glowed bright green, scanning the area for movement. Elias froze, then slowly pressed a button on a small device. The drone's signal scrambled, and for a moment it hung in the air, confused. Then Elias moved. He ran with a speed that seemed impossible, landing behind the drone and smashing its power core with a single, precise strike. Sparks flew and the hum of the machine died instantly. His team followed, and within minutes they were at the base perimeter. Inside, alarms screamed. Red lights flashed, illuminating corridors filled with Vrekari soldiers. They were taller than humans, with pale gray skin and elongated limbs, and they moved with a cold efficiency that made them terrifying. But Elias did not hesitate. He charged forward, throwing grenades that released blinding light and choking gas. The soldiers faltered, and his team took advantage, neutralizing them with minimal risk. As they advanced deeper into the command center, Elias noticed something unusual. The soldiers were not fighting out of anger or strategy. They were terrified. Every move he made seemed to confuse them, to make them second-guess their instincts. This was the power of the human mind, the unpredictable spirit that no alien could calculate. In the central control room, Elias found his prize, the command terminal. It controlled the entire Vrekari operation on Xylar 9. With a few swift motions, he uploaded a virus that would shut down their machinery and communications. Machines ground to a halt, turrets froze, and drones fell from the sky. The humans and aliens in his team watched in awe. Elias smiled briefly, knowing the planet's resistance fighters would finally have a chance to reclaim their homes. But his work was not finished. From the shadows, a Vrekari officer emerged, larger and more imposing than the others, wielding a plasma blade that hummed with deadly energy. "You think a human can defeat us?" it hissed. Its voice was cold, resonating with centuries of domination. Elias did not answer. He ran forward, dodging the blade with a speed that seemed impossible, striking with a series of blows that combined human ingenuity with raw courage. The officer fell, and Elias stood over it, breathing steadily as if the battle had been nothing more than a morning exercise. News of the strike traveled faster than any starship. Across the galaxy, the whispers began, "Elias Kane is unstoppable." Every alien fears him. Entire factions held meetings to discuss the human who had infiltrated a fortress no alien soldier had ever survived. And in that moment, Elias was already moving to his next target because he never rested. The galaxy was too large, and too many lives were at stake. Far from Xylar 9, a figure watched the reports in silence. Lyria, a strategist from an alien world that had always relied on intelligence and precision, studied the images of the command center's destruction. Her eyes narrowed. She had never feared anyone, but this human was different. The way he moved, the way he thought, the way he inspired even those around him. There was a spark in him that no alien could understand, and yet it terrified her. Meanwhile, Elias stood atop a ridge overlooking Xylar 9, the sun setting behind the mountains of smoke and ash. He looked out over the chaos he had created, not for the glory, not for fame, but because it was the right thing to do. Humanity had a place in the stars, and he would carve it out, one battle at a time. As he prepared to return to his ship, he received a message from the galaxy's resistance networks. Other planets, inspired by his actions, were beginning to rise against the Vrekari. Small fleets of ships, once considered insignificant, now moved with purpose, striking at supply lines and bases. The name Elias Kane became a symbol, a spark of hope that could ignite rebellion across worlds. Elias allowed himself a small smile. He did not fight for fear or for vengeance. He fought because humans, despite being underestimated, had something no alien could ever replicate: determination, courage, and ingenuity. And as long as he drew breath, he would continue to prove that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. Night fell on Xylar 9, and the first stars of evening appeared, reflected in the blackened smoke above. Somewhere in the galaxy, Lyria whispered the human's name aloud, trembling at what she saw, not in terror but in awe. This was the beginning. Every alien would soon learn that underestimating humans was the greatest mistake they could ever make. Elias turned away from the ridge, already planning his next move, already thinking 5 steps ahead of enemies who could not even guess his strategy. The war was just beginning, and humanity had found its champion. Every alien feared him. And somewhere, one intelligent observer trembled at the mere mention of the name. Elias Kane, the human warrior. Far beyond Xylar 9, across the spiral arms of the galaxy, Lyria watched the destruction unfold through holographic displays in her high tower on the planet Sarathis. She had seen countless battles, studied thousands of military campaigns, and commanded fleets that could annihilate entire star systems. Yet, something about the name Elias Kane sent a chill down her spine. Every report, every intercepted transmission painted the same picture: a human moving with impossible speed, striking with perfect precision, and leaving entire alien battalions in disarray. Lyria had been trained to fear nothing, to analyze every possible outcome and manipulate events to her advantage. But this human was different. He was unpredictable. Logical models failed to predict his movements. No alien weapon had stopped him. No strategy had countered him. And worse, his actions inspired hope. Hope was dangerous in war. It spread like fire, and she knew that humans could ignite it faster than any alien empire could extinguish it. Her world faced a dilemma. The Vrekari's power had been challenged for the first time in centuries, and it was not an alien leader who had done it. It was a single human. If Elias Kane continued to succeed, entire civilizations that had relied on the Vrekari's strength might rise up. Lyria realized she had a choice: wait and react, or confront him herself. She chose the latter. Within hours, Lyria began mobilizing her ships. Her fleet was sleek, efficient, and deadly. Each vessel bristled with weapons that could tear through the largest starships. She did not plan to simply attack. Her goal was to understand the human, to learn why he moved like a shadow across the galaxy, and why every alien feared him. She wanted to know his mind, his strategies, and if possible, find a way to neutralize the threat without risking her entire civilization. Meanwhile, Elias had returned to the human fleet hidden in a distant asteroid belt. His strike team moved quickly, repairing their equipment, sharing intel, and preparing for the next mission. Even in this brief moment of rest, Elias' mind never stopped working. He analyzed reports of Vrekari supply lines, planetary defenses, and possible ambushes. He knew the enemy would not remain idle for long. Humans had won a significant battle, but the war was far from over. A young pilot approached him, her flight suit still streaked with soot and grime. "Commander, our scouts picked up a fleet heading toward Sarathis. Not Vrekari, something else. Advanced tech, coordinated maneuvers. It doesn't match any known pattern. Prepare for engagement, but do not attack unless I give the order." Yet when she attempted to intercept human transmissions, she found them encrypted in ways she had never seen. Every move Elias made was deliberate yet unpredictable. Each maneuver forced her to reconsider her assumptions about human tactics. The first engagement came unexpectedly. Elia's scouts detected Lyria's fleet approaching a contested star system. He didn't panic. Instead, he devised a plan that leveraged human unpredictability. Using decoy ships disguised as civilian transports, he drew part of her fleet into an asteroid field, where the terrain gave his smaller human ships a tactical advantage. Lyria watched carefully, her mind racing. She had anticipated traps, yet Elia's strategy was unlike anything she had encountered. His team used the field to move quickly, appearing in places she did not expect, disabling her ships' shields one by one. She realized that this human fought not just with weapons, but with thought. He exploited weaknesses in perception, timing, and confidence. Every strike was a lesson in human ingenuity. By the end of the skirmish, Lyria had lost several vessels, her pride wounded more than her fleet. She retreated, but her respect for the human warrior grew. Unlike other aliens who sought only to destroy, Elia's attacks were precise, purposeful, and aimed at weakening the Vrekari without unnecessary slaughter. He was not just a warrior, he was a strategist, a symbol, and now a growing threat she could not ignore. Back on the human fleet, Elias stood on the command deck, looking out at the stars. He had expected resistance, but not this level of calculated intelligence. "She's testing us," he said quietly to his team. "We need to be ready for her next move. We fight differently because we refuse to accept what is supposed to be impossible." Even the aliens who fought alongside him seemed changed, emboldened by his courage. For the first time, Lyria felt a strange tension inside her. Fear was a word she did not use lightly, but she recognized it now. Elia's Kane was not just a threat to the Vrekari, he was a force that could reshape the galaxy. The thought unsettled her, yet it intrigued her. She wanted to understand him, to see firsthand the human who could defy the impossible. Her plan became clear. She would track him, study him, and confront him directly. Not to destroy him immediately, but to learn. The galaxy had never seen a human like this, and she was determined to discover what made him so dangerous. As the days passed, Elia's reputation grew. Messages reached distant star systems. Humans had struck again, dismantling Vrekari outposts, rescuing captured civilians, and leaving entire fleets in disarray. Every victory was a story, and every story inspired hope in places that had long known only fear. Elias knew that Lyria would not wait long. She would come personally, not out of emotion, but necessity, and he was ready. He trained his team relentlessly, running simulations, planning contingency after contingency. He knew her mind would be sharp, calculating, and relentless. He respected that he needed to. Then came the message. A single encrypted transmission intercepted by human intelligence. "We know you. We will meet soon. Prepare." Elias smiled faintly. This was what he had expected. Every alien feared him, yes, but this one trembled, not out of terror, but because she recognized something extraordinary. The human spirit was not something any alien could predict, and he would prove it again. He called his team together, their faces lit by the soft glow of starship consoles. "She's coming," he said simply, "but we don't fight alone. We fight smart, we fight together, and we show every alien in this galaxy that humans are more than capable. We adapt, we survive, and we win." Lyria's fleet moved silently toward the edge of human-controlled space, her sensors probing, her mind analyzing. She did not fear death, but she did fear underestimating Elia's Kane. That was a mistake no strategist could afford. Every movement he made was a lesson, every decision a challenge, and she realized that in order to truly defeat him, or understand him, she would have to confront him directly. As the two forces prepared for their inevitable encounter, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. One human had already reshaped entire worlds, inspired hope in the hopeless, and challenged the most powerful empire in history. Now one brilliant alien strategist would face him, and the results would echo across the stars, proving that humanity was not just a minor player in the galaxy. It was a force to be reckoned with. Elias stared out at the endless expanse of space, the stars reflecting in his eyes. He felt no fear. He felt only resolve. Humanity had survived countless trials, faced unimaginable odds, and now stood ready to challenge the galaxy itself. Every alien feared him. And now, one of the smartest and most dangerous minds in the galaxy would see firsthand what a human warrior could do. The countdown to confrontation had begun, and Elia's Kane would be ready. The vastness of space stretched endlessly around the contested system of Krillian, a star field alive with glowing gas clouds and jagged asteroid belts. The human fleet had positioned itself near a large asteroid cluster, taking advantage of cover and natural choke points. Commander Elias Kane studied the holographic displays of incoming enemy ships. Every sensor blip, every movement was analyzed with his mind working faster than any computer could. Lyria's fleet approached with precision, their formation tight and disciplined. Her ships moved like a well-oiled machine, anticipating every potential move the humans might make. Elias watched her strategy unfold, a small smile forming on his face. She was brilliant, calculating, and relentless. She would not waste time on trivial attacks. Her goal was clear: confront the human warrior directly and test his limits. "Everyone listen," Elias said, his voice steady, calm, and confident. "She's here, Lyria herself. Do exactly what I trained you to do. Stick to the plan, but remember, adapt. We survive by thinking differently. Watch, learn, and act. We're not just fighting ships, we're fighting an intelligence that won't make mistakes unless we make her think they're hers." This was not just a battle. It was a test of minds, strategies, and human ingenuity against the best the galaxy had ever produced. The first engagement began without warning. Lyria sent a small detachment of fast attack ships into the asteroid field. The plan was clear: test the human's defenses, gauge reactions, and provoke him into revealing strategies. Elias anticipated the move. Using smaller, camouflaged ships that could slip between asteroids, he set ambush points, positioning teams to strike at weak points she would likely expose. The clash was sudden and intense. Energy beams lit up the darkness, asteroids shattered under the impact of plasma blasts, and smaller fighter ships darted like glowing fireflies between larger vessels. Elias moved his flagship through the chaos with perfect control, issuing commands in rapid-fire bursts. His team reacted instantly, exploiting openings and adapting on the fly. Lyria watched the battle unfold from her command ship. The humans were clever, but she expected cleverness. What surprised her was their adaptability. Each move Elias made seemed to anticipate her counters, yet he never repeated a pattern. Every human strike was a mix of logic and instinct, something no algorithm or strategy could fully predict. Elias' ship emerged from the asteroid field, and he sent a small squadron around Lyria's flank. The attack was sudden, precise, and coordinated perfectly. One of her forward cruisers exploded before she could react. A wave of panic threatened to ripple through her fleet, but Lyria maintained control, suppressing fear with sheer willpower. She was a master strategist, yet this human forced her to reconsider everything she knew about warfare. In the middle of the chaos, a transmission arrived on Elias' comm. It was Lyria, her voice clear and controlled. "Human, I know who you are. I see what you can do. You fight with courage and strategy, but you cannot fight forever. I will confront you directly." Elias anticipated this, moving his flagship to the planet's shadow to gain a tactical advantage. His smaller ship scouted the surface, identifying landing zones, natural cover, and potential choke points. When Lyria landed a strike team, the human forces were ready. The confrontation was not only about firepower, but about maneuvering, positioning, and anticipation. Elias led the counterattack, his team moving like shadows through rocky canyons and cratered plains. Laser blasts illuminated the dust and rock, yet every human move was calculated to minimize casualties and maximize effect. Lyria descended herself, stepping onto the rocky surface with a small contingent of elite soldiers. She was brilliant in battle, precise, and focused. Her strategy was to observe Elias' movements, find weaknesses, and test his limits. Yet even with her intelligence and skill, she found herself challenged at every step. Elias watched from a ridge, analyzing her tactics. "She's brilliant," he muttered. "But brilliance can be used against itself." He directed his team to create subtle distractions, forcing Lyria to split her attention, miscalculate her timing, and respond to feints. The battle became a game of chess played at lightning speed, with humans moving pieces she could not predict. For the first time, Lyria hesitated. She had anticipated efficiency, speed, and coordination, but she had not anticipated creativity, intuition, and adaptability in a human warrior. Each time she thought she had Elias trapped, he found a way out, turning her own strategy against her. Amid the chaos, Elias moved closer, using the terrain to his advantage. He knew Lyria would confront him personally, and he was ready. As he crested a rocky outcrop, he came face to face with her. She was calm, composed, and aware, her presence radiating the intelligence and precision that had made her a feared strategist. "You're faster than I expected," she said, her voice calm but firm. "But humans are fragile. You rely on improvisation instincts. You can be predicted eventually." Ilias responded instantly, dodging, redirecting, and countering. Every movement was precise, a combination of instinct, training, and creativity that no alien had ever faced. The ground shook with explosions, laser fire scorched rocks, and dust rose into the air in thick clouds. Yet Ilias moved through it all with unwavering focus. He neutralized threats without unnecessary risk to his team, guiding them through the chaos with silent signals and unspoken commands. Lyria realized that this was no ordinary human. Ilias did not just fight, he inspired those around him. His presence gave courage to humans and aliens alike. Even those unfamiliar with humans' capabilities felt the shift. Fear turned into confidence, hesitation into action. For the first time, Lyria felt something alien to her, a mixture of respect, curiosity, and unease. She had faced brilliant warriors before, but none combined intellect, courage, and unpredictability like this human. He was not just a soldier. He was a force, a symbol, a phenomenon that challenged everything she had known about the galaxy. As the sun set behind the craters, Ilias and Lyria paused, both breathing steadily, both recognizing the other's skill. The battle was not over, but for a moment there was understanding. Lyria realized that defeating Ilias would require more than brute force. It would require understanding, adaptation, and perhaps even respect. Ilias studied her carefully. He saw intelligence, discipline, and an unyielding will. She was unlike any adversary he had faced, yet he also saw a spark, the potential to become an ally if the galaxy's circumstances allowed. Humans had always survived by turning challenges into opportunities. Perhaps this was one of them. The rest of the battlefield echoed with the aftermath of their clash. Human and alien soldiers paused, regrouped, and took stock. The Vrekari forces, disrupted and demoralized by the human strategies, retreated in confusion. Even Lyria's fleet, though intact, had suffered unexpected losses. She called for a tactical withdrawal, not in fear, but in recognition that Ilias Kane was unlike any opponent she had ever faced. Back on his ridge, Ilias watched her retreating ships disappear into space. He did not celebrate. Instead, he focused on the future. He knew she would return, stronger, smarter, and more determined. He welcomed it. The galaxy needed humans who could inspire, lead, and fight with courage. And if one human warrior could challenge the most brilliant alien minds, then perhaps humanity could shape the stars themselves. As night fell over Krillian, the stars reflected in Ilia's eyes. Every alien feared him, and one among them trembled, not out of terror but out of awe. Lyria would return, and the next battle would test the limits of human ingenuity, courage, and spirit. Ilias was ready. Humans always were. And somewhere across the galaxy, whispers began to spread once more. Every alien feared him, and she trembled at the name of the human warrior. The stars above the Krillian system twinkled coldly, distant witnesses to the growing storm of war. Ilias Kane stood aboard his flagship, the Resolute, looking at the holographic maps of the galaxy. The Vrekari were regrouping, consolidating forces, and sending reinforcements to every planet they still controlled. Yet, for the first time in centuries, alien worlds were beginning to resist. The spark Ilias had ignited was spreading, and the galaxy's oppressed populations were starting to rise, inspired by the courage of humans. He did not smile. Hope alone was not enough. Every operation had to be precise. Every move had to count. The Vrekari were dangerous, cunning, and ruthless. He could not afford mistakes, not for himself, not for his team, not for the millions who looked to him as a symbol. The communications officer, a small alien named Rin, approached, her antennae twitching with unease. "Commander, our scouts report a fleet approaching from the far side of the nebula. It's not Vrekari, but highly organized. Sensors suggest advanced tactics, matching patterns we have seen before." "We went." Meanwhile, Ilias worked tirelessly with his team and allies. He had gathered humans from colonies across the galaxy, as well as alien species who had begun to trust him, inspired by his courage and strategy. He trained them in unconventional tactics, emphasizing improvisation, adaptation, and teamwork. One of his older alien allies, Thrin, voiced what others were thinking. "Commander, she is brilliant. The humans and our allies have never faced intelligence like hers. How do we hope to prevail?" "We show her that she cannot predict us completely." Humans and allied aliens moved together, each group improvising when situations changed unexpectedly. From her observation post in orbit, Lyria watched these operations unfold. She had expected disruption, perhaps some small victories, but what she saw exceeded even her calculations. Humans did not just fight. They inspired, they lead, and they adapt faster than any algorithm could account for. She could feel the shift in power across the galaxy. The Vrakari were not just being challenged, they were being undermined in ways they could not predict. Elia's team executed a daring raid on a heavily fortified supply station on the industrial planet Viridian. Using stealth ships, they navigated through heavily mined space and infiltrated the facility without detection. Once inside, they disabled communications, destroyed weapon caches, and evacuated civilians. Lyria monitored the entire operation, silently impressed. The humans had moved with a level of efficiency that no alien army had managed before, but they had done it with creativity, courage, and compassion, qualities she had underestimated. After the operation, Elias convened his command team. "We're not just fighting battles, we're changing the galaxy's perception of humans. Every successful mission, every life we save, every victory inspires hope. That is our weapon." She knew she could not allow him to continue unchecked, but she also began to recognize that he fought with a different kind of morality, one that inspired loyalty rather than fear. For the first time, she questioned her assumptions about humans. The turning point came when a distress signal reached Elias from the planet Cirrus. Vrakari forces had cornered a small human colony, intending to enslave or destroy it. The planet was heavily fortified, but its civilians were unarmed and terrified. Elias did not hesitate. He immediately mobilized his strike team, planning a rapid response that combined speed, precision, and ingenuity. As they approached Cirrus, Lyria arrived in orbit. This time, she did not merely observe. She intended to intervene, but Elias anticipated her presence. Using deceptive tactics, he maneuvered his ships to appear vulnerable while actually luring the Vrakari into a trap that neutralized their numerical advantage. On the planet's surface, Elias led his team through crumbled cities and industrial zones, striking with precision and rescuing civilians. Each move was calculated to minimize risk, yet executed with fearless confidence. Even when faced with overwhelming odds, the humans adapted instantly, turning obstacles into advantages. Lyria watched in disbelief as the humans turned near-certain disaster into a resounding victory. She realized something profound. Humans thrived not by outmatching the enemy in technology or strength, but by thinking, reacting, and inspiring others to act beyond their limits. The galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries, and now she understood why Elias Kane had become a legend. After the battle, Lyria transmitted a message to Elias, not as an attack, but as an acknowledgement. "Human, your actions are remarkable. I underestimated you. Perhaps I can learn from you rather than merely oppose you." Aliens rarely admitted admiration, and humans rarely trusted their enemies. Yet this exchange marked the beginning of something new, a grudging alliance based on mutual respect and understanding. Elias and Lyria began to coordinate, sharing intelligence to disrupt Vrakari operations more effectively. Together, humans and allied aliens executed strategic strikes on key Vrakari strongholds, cutting off supply routes, freeing enslaved populations, and dismantling war infrastructure. The tide of the conflict began to shift, and the Vrakari realized that their hold on the galaxy was weakening for the first time in centuries. Through it all, Elias remained a symbol. His courage, ingenuity, and determination inspired not only humans, but alien allies who had never seen such leadership. Even Lyria, once solely focused on defeating him, began to see the value of human ingenuity and collaboration. As their operations continued, Elias and Lyria learned to anticipate each other's thinking, not as enemies, but as strategists. They respected each other's brilliance while combining their efforts to challenge a common foe. The human warrior had not only survived against impossible odds, but had also turned an adversary into an ally, showing that humanity's greatest strength lay in creativity, courage, and adaptability. By the time the last Vrakari stronghold fell on several key systems, entire worlds were rising against oppression. Humans, inspired by Elias, led coordinated efforts that demonstrated that even the most powerful empire could be challenged when courage and intelligence combined. Lyria, once trembling at the name of a single human warrior, now fought alongside him, fully aware that humans had earned their place among the stars. Elias stood aboard the Resolute, looking at the liberated planets below. He knew the war was far from over, but he also knew that the galaxy had changed. Every alien had feared humans, but now, thanks to courage, strategy, and unyielding determination, they had begun to respect them. And somewhere among the freed worlds, whispers spread across the galaxy. Every alien feared him, and she trembled at the name of the human warrior.